There is one thing we rarely think about until it's too late. It's not your heart, it's not your blood pressure, and it's not your joints, although they are important. It's your balance, the simple ability to stand confidently on your feet, to walk down the sidewalk without looking down, to turn around in the bathroom without holding onto the wall, to put on a sock while standing up. It seems trivial, but in reality, it's the foundation of our independence, our freedom. Balance is like music in the body. It works when you don't notice it. But if you lose your balance even slightly, everything sounds different. Closer to falsehood. In youth, the body holds us up like a mast holds a sail. We don't think about where our right foot is and where our left foot is. We just walk. But over time, something subtle and insidious happens. Strength does not disappear, but stability does. And what's interesting is that, at first, we don't even notice that anything has changed. We just feel awkward when we stumble in the hallway. We just miss our slippers. We just slip on the kitchen tile. And then, we start to be careful. We get up slowly. We hold on to the railing even if we've been climbing those stairs for decades. Here, in this silence, lies the threat. Because losing your balance is not about old age. It's about muscles that have shut down, about ears that don't send signals, about a brain that is tired of coordinating, and also about a body that hasn't received the right signal from you in a long time. I want to stand firmly. I want to walk confidently. I don't want to be afraid of falling. After all, losing your balance isn't about falling. It's about fear. Fear of falling again. Fear of falling on the street. Fear of not being able to get up. And it settles inside, like dust in an empty room. You can't see it, but with each passing day, it makes your movements a little slower, and your steps become a little shorter. But there is good news, very good news. This is not the end. You can regain your balance. Your body can remember. Neurons can reconnect like thin threads. And this is the greatest miracle of human nature. It doesn't give up if you don't give up. Try to remember the last time you stood on one leg. Just like that. Not for exercise, but for example, when you reached for something high up in the kitchen, or when you were putting on a pair of pants. In these moments, the body shows everything that is going on inside. Because balance is not just about the legs. It's about vision, hearing, your internal sense of space, your brain. Balance is like an orchestra. Every instrument is important. If one is out of tune, the music is no longer the same. It's the same with the body. If you weaken somewhere, it feels like everything is shaky. It's as if you're standing on a boat instead of on solid ground. Sometimes people say, it's just age. Number. It's not age. It's the lack of a signal to the body that it's still needed, that it's still capable, and that you are the master of this body, not its guest. Imagine that balance is a rod inside you. It's as thin as a lily stem, but as strong as a rope. It keeps you upright, even when the winds of change are blowing outside. But this rod needs training. Not heavy exercise, not in the gym, just a simple reminder. You know how to stand. You know how to move. And the most interesting thing is that balance is not restored over years. It responds quite quickly. Because the body is grateful for the attention. All you need to do is activate 2 simple signals, 2 habits, 2 exercises, and we'll talk about them. But first, we need to understand why the body loses this stability. And where exactly does it hide when you stop moving freely? When a person ages, nothing dramatic happens. There are no signals, no sirens. Everything goes quietly, as if someone is secretly tightening the screws in a system that we have come to consider eternal. And then one day, we notice that our feet feel wooden. You step and don't feel complete support. Or you walk and suddenly veer slightly to the side. These are not diseases. These are signals, micro-messages from the body. Its way of saying, I need attention. One of the main reasons why balance is lost is the loss of sensitivity in the feet. The foot is like an antenna. It constantly scans the surface beneath you. A pebble, the corner of a tile, even a thin carpet. All of these are signals to it. And when the foot is working properly, it sends information to the brain in a fraction of a second. Lean forward slightly. Shift your weight. Be careful. But if you don't have this sensitivity, it's as if your radar has been turned off. Let's add one more thing to this. Muscles. The ones that keep us upright. Especially the muscles in the legs, buttocks, and abdomen. No one has canceled them. But if you don't use them, they weaken. Not immediately, not abruptly, but quietly, like a candle running out of wax. Ligaments also become less flexible. Joints become stiffer. This means that the body begins to move with a delay. Like an old elevator. It thinks first, then moves. And finally, the brain. It still works, but if you don't give it any tasks, it starts to economize. If you don't train your coordination, your brain stops using it by default. Like a TV that has been forgotten to be turned on. It gathers dust in the corner, even though it still works. And all of this together is not a disaster. But it's not a trifle either. It's like rust. Little by little. Imperceptibly. And then suddenly, a fall. And we don't understand. How did this happen? Everything was fine. Very often it starts with ordinary fatigue. You walk through a store and your legs feel like they're not yours. You climb the stairs and hold onto the railing not because you have to, but because you feel like you might stumble. That's how accumulation works. Every day your body loses a little bit of stability. Sometimes we blame it on stress, or our joints, or our shoes. And all of these things can play a role. But if you could see how your center of balance works inside, you'd be amazed. It's an incredibly complex, almost orchestral system. It relies on three things at once: vision, the vestibular system, and proprioception, the body's ability to sense itself in space. If even one of these elements is off, the whole system starts to fail. And if two of them go out of whack, then the brain starts to panic. It says, better hold on to the wall. Better not take any chances. Better walk slowly. That's why people walk differently after they fall. Not because they're hurt. It's because their brain has become fearful. But here's the amazing thing. These systems can be restored, even if it seems like everything is gone. Even if you've long thought that balance is something you can't get back. Because the body remembers. It may be sluggish, weak, and have forgotten how to stand firmly. But as soon as you give it the right impulse, it wakes up. You need simple things. No dumbbells, no gym, no pain. Just two signals, two habits that we will build into your life, and balance will begin to return. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the most dangerous thing, the fear of falling, how it appears, how it affects the body, and how to deal with it. Falls don't just happen. Even if you think it was an accident, a slippery floor, a misstep, getting distracted by your phone, these are all just excuses. The real reason is deeper. A fall is the last straw. It's the moment when your body says, I can't do this anymore. In reality, it all starts long before that, with little things, with you starting to put your feet a little wider apart, or moving cautiously, with you stopping to turn instead of turning while moving. It seems like a habit, but it's not. These are signals. One of the strongest indicators is the fear of falling. It doesn't arise after a fall. It appears several weeks or even months before. It just lives deep down, in the subconscious. You're walking down the street and suddenly you notice that you're scanning every curb. You get up at night and decide it's better to turn on the light, even though you used to walk calmly in the dark. Or, for example, you refuse to travel because you are afraid of falling on the steps of the bus. This is not weakness. It is internal anxiety that builds up, and if you do nothing about it, it starts to change everything. You start to feel stiff in your movements. Your neck gets tense. You feel like you're on edge all the time. And then every movement becomes a challenge. And every fall is a blow not only to the body, but also to the spirit. Because after a fall, a person becomes different. They can heal physically, but inside a new pattern emerges. I can fall. And they begin to live with this as a fact. They start avoiding walks. They only walk with a cane, even if they can do without it. They refuse to meet people. They withdraw into themselves. And this is the most dangerous part, because falling in the physical sense is not always a trauma. But falling as a fear is a blow to the personality. It is what robs a person of their sense of security, and with it, their joy of life. We don't talk about this often, but the fear of falling is the fear of becoming helpless, of losing control, of ending up on the ground and not being able to get up, of calling for help and no one hearing you. Or they hear you, but it's too late. It's all deep down inside. For many people, it appears after the first time it happens, or even when someone they know falls, especially if it was serious. Then alarm bells start ringing in your head. What if I'm next? And from that moment on, you're no longer just walking. You keep thinking, what if? What if I get caught? What if I get dizzy? What if I lose my balance? And your body feels it. When you're tense, you move differently. Your steps become shorter. Your center of gravity shifts. Your shoulders rise. Your muscles tense up. You are no longer gliding through the movement. You are as if making your way through bushes. And this is where the chain reaction begins. Fear leads to stiffness. Stiffness leads to instability. Instability leads to falling. And the whole cycle repeats itself. Fortunately, there is a way out of this circle. It starts with a simple understanding. Balance can be restored, and with it comes confidence, and even the joy of movement, because movement is life. But first, you need to help your body remember that it knows how to stand, that it can hold its center, that it is not fragile, that you are the master, not a prisoner of your legs. And here, two simple things come to the rescue. Two exercises that we will now examine. Not as gymnastics, but as a way back to yourself. Imagine a tree. It looks mighty and strong, but then the wind blows and it sways. Why? Because its roots are shallow, or because the soil beneath them is loose. The same is true of people. You can appear strong on the outside, but if your foundation is not solid, your whole body will begin to lose stability. And now we are talking about the first point of balance. It is your feet. Yes, that's right. Not your back, not your head, not the stick in your hand, just the simple feet that we have stood on since birth. They contain a vast world, hundreds of receptors, muscles, ligaments. They are the first to come into contact with the ground. They are the first to feel if the surface is sloping. They are the first to tell the body where to shift its weight. But the trouble is that as we age, we stop giving them work to do. We sit. We walk in soft shoes. We walk barefoot less and less. This means that the muscles in our feet stop working. Instead of living, active sensors beneath us, we have what feels like cotton wool cushions. That is why the first exercise that restores balance is working with the feet. It is simple, painless, and requires no effort, but it is surprisingly powerful. Stand barefoot on the floor. Just stand. Don't tense up. Bend your knees slightly. Feel your toes touching the floor. Feel your heels. Feel how your weight is distributed. Not forward, not backward, but in the center. This is the return of the signal. Don't rush. Take a breath. And try to gently shift your weight from one foot to the other. Slowly. No rush. As if you were being rocked by a gentle wave. This is not gymnastics. It is a reminder to your body. I feel you. I am with you. Now imagine a bicycle. It has an axle. If it is out of alignment, the wheel does not turn properly. Your body also has such an axle, a line from the top of your head to your heels. When it is in place, you stand confidently. But if you lean forward, slouch, or lean too heavily on your heels, your balance is compromised. That is why it is so important to learn to feel your position in space. When you get up in the morning, don't rush. Place your feet on the floor. Feel how they stand. Is there a difference between the left and right? Is one foot slightly turned out? Are you standing too much on your toes or on your heels? These are all signals. It is through such small things that balance begins to return. Not from a training machine, but from the awareness. I am standing. I feel. I am in control. Do the following. Several times during the day, stand against a wall without touching it. Just close your eyes. Feel how your body maintains its balance on its own. Feel the micro movements of your muscles. They work even if you don't notice them. Now imagine that you are a tree. Your feet are the roots. Your back is the trunk. Your arms are the branches. And you are standing calmly, gently, firmly. This is the first exercise, and it gives your body what it has been lacking for a long time, a sense of stability. But there is a second point. It is not responsible for steadiness, but for movement, for flexibility, for reaction, for the ability to not just stand, but to move confidently. We will discuss this in the next episode. If balance begins with the feet, it moves through the center, where the abdomen, back, and hips meet. This area is like a conductor in an orchestra. It is invisible, but it sets the rhythm. If the conductor loses concentration, the orchestra falls apart. The same is true here. If the center of the body is not active, everything else begins to work intermittently. It may seem that the legs are important for balance, or, say, the eyes. Yes, they are important. But here's what's surprising. Stability actually comes from the middle. Try to remember how you reacted to something unexpected in the past. You stopped abruptly so as not to step on something. You jumped when you slipped. All of this is the work of the center. The muscles of the abdomen, lower back, and sides. They activate in a fraction of a second and hold you up. Now imagine that this core has weakened. Then, any surprise is a blow. The body does not have time to react. That is why the second exercise is to gently activate the core. Not through effort, but through coordination, through awareness, through awakening the body's memory. Stand up straight. Put one foot slightly in front of the other, as if you were on a narrow path. Don't tense up. Relax. Bend your knees slightly, and now, just close your eyes. At first, you will feel a slight swaying. This is normal. Your body is remembering. It is adjusting. It is relearning how to maintain balance. You are not standing on two wide platforms. You are standing on a thin line, and your brain is working. It instantly activates your muscles, even if you don't notice them. Do this every day, just a few seconds, and you will notice how your brain begins to react differently. A feeling of confidence emerges. Movement memory emerges. Now imagine a staircase, an ordinary one, with 5 or 6 steps. You approach it, and don't think. You just walk up, easily, automatically. But if your balance weakens, each step becomes a challenge. And now you're holding on to the railing. You look at your feet. You move cautiously. This means that your body has stopped trusting its center. It starts to play it safe. It makes unnecessary movements. And at that moment, it expends more energy than necessary. The second exercise teaches the body to trust again. It requires no strength, only engagement. Here's another way. Take a soft ball, a small one. Stand up straight, and start slowly passing the ball from hand to hand in front of you, then to the sides, and then try to do this while slightly turning your torso. It's like you're playing, but in fact, serious work is going on. Your brain and body are learning to work together again. reactions appear, coordination appears, flexibility appears, and most importantly, self-confidence returns. You no longer think, "What if I fall?" You just move, freely, like before. And let it not happen right away. Let it be little by little. But every moment is a step back to yourself, to the version of yourself that is not afraid, that feels confident. And then, when both points of support are restored, the feet and the center, the body seems to exhale. It says, "I remember how to be strong." There is only one thing left to do. Understand what happens when balance returns. That is what the last episode will be about. When balance returns, it doesn't look like fireworks. There will be no fanfare. No one will bring you a medal. Everything will happen quietly, like the morning after a long night, like the first sip of water after thirst. One day you'll just notice that you're walking without thinking about your feet, that you're turning around in the bathroom without holding onto the wall, that you're reaching for something on the top shelf without fear of losing your balance. Balance isn't just about the body. It's about feeling like you're back in control. You breathe freely again. When balance returns, everything changes. Your sleep becomes deeper, because the anxiety that lived inside you disappears. Your brain rests. It is no longer tense. Your movements become lighter. Even your gait changes. It becomes smooth. Software calm, and clarity returns. It's as if a veil has been lifted. You wake up and feel alive, not just surviving, alive, because the fear of falling is not about falling, it's about losing control, and regaining balance is regaining power over your body, over your life, over the moment you are in. And most importantly, you start walking again. Not just moving, but walking forward, with confidence, with poise. It doesn't matter how many steps. What matters is that they are yours. Someone once said, "I didn't know what I had lost until I felt it coming back." It's the same here. You didn't know how important balance was until you felt how it made every day easier, how liberating it is. Sometimes it seems that in adulthood it's too late to change anything. But the body is like a garden. Even if the trees are old, if you water them, fertilize them, prune them, they will bear fruit again. You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are not abandoned. You are alive. And your body still has resources. You just need to pay attention to them. The two simple exercises we talked about are not exercises. They are a language for communicating with yourself. They are a way of saying, "I am here. I am ready. I choose not to be afraid." You can do them at home, in silence, without an audience, without pressure. And with each passing day, your body will respond. Not quickly, not loudly, but confidently. And then one day you will wake up in the morning. You won't think about balance, you'll just get up. Take a step, turn around, you'll pick up a cup, look out the window, and you'll feel, "I'm alive." That's why it's worth starting. For one morning like this, for one walk like this, for one moment without fear. Because regaining balance isn't just stability, it's freedom. If you've listened to the end, it means that it's important for you to keep moving. In life, in freedom, and I thank you for that. Don't put it off. Start today. One exercise, one step, one breath, and you're already heading in the right direction. Like this if you found it useful. Subscribe if you want more simple but powerful tips like this. And most importantly, don't forget, balance doesn't go away forever. It's just waiting for you to call it back. You are stronger than you think. Just stand up and feel it.